She seemed awfully young to me at that moment. I wanted to be kind to her, kind the way Emily had been to me. You don't need earrings, Janie. You're sweet and nice, and you're pretty too. I guess it's just older women who need earrings. She grew very red when I said that to her. I liked the blush that spread over her face and even to the part of her neck where her shirt collar lay open. But I could see that she felt awkward and self-conscious. She was no longer the poised little tomboy who talked about organized labor and how a man named Herbert Spence had felt about government aid for the poor. She looked much more like an unhappy little kid who didn't know what to do next. I felt very tender toward Janie at that moment, and because I wanted to reassure her, I stretched out my hand to hers. When our hands met, she lifted mine and pressed her cheek against it. She left abruptly after that and didn't return until she and Grandma came over to prepare supper. We always ate, to tell the truth, considerably better when Grandma helped to cook the meal than when Janie did it alone. It was an especially good supper. Lonnie talked more than usual, and even Grandma smiled a little now and then. Once she pointed her finger at me and said, "Now, if my girl gets to be a nuisance running over here every afternoon, you tell me and I'll keep her at home." Lonnie glanced at me quickly and then at Janie. We had been very quiet, both of us, and at Grandma's words, I guess each of us became very red. I noticed that when Janie brought the coffee pot over to refill Lonnie's cup, he put his arm around her waist and drew her to his side. She leaned down and kissed his forehead lightly. It almost seemed as if they said something to one another in those two gestures. That night, when we were alone, Lonnie and I talked for a long time. We talked about Joey and the plans Lonnie was going to carry out if we found that my brother had not gone home. Lonnie seemed hopeful as we talked things over. "At least we can pretty well rule out death by starvation or freezing. There's been no little blonde boy found dead, thank God, and in any of the towns where I have contacts. I don't think Joey would have gone much farther west. If we had a mind to get out of this part of the country, he'd head for Chicago and home." "Would he have tried to go back south, do you think? He liked Pete Harris and Edward C. and Emily. He might have decided to go back down there." "I'm in touch with Harris," Lonnie answered. "If Joey turns up down there, Harris will let us know. He was pretty well worked up when I told him about Joey." "You made a long-distance call to Baton Rouge, Lonnie?" I asked incredulously. My debt to him seemed to be growing fast. I wondered how I could ever repay it. "Keep your shirt on. It wasn't too bad. Anyway, we're going to find that boy no matter what it costs, no matter if the rest of us have to live on beans." I sat up in the big rocking chair until bedtime. Lonnie pulled me up near the stove and sat astride one of the kitchen chairs. "Janie likes to sit like that," I said, smiling. I hadn't intended to mention her name, but I forgot. "She learned that from me. She's always appeased me since she was knee-high. She and the boy, too." He leaned forward and closed a damper on the stove. "She's got to begin wearing dresses more and sitting like a lady now that she's growing up. I must have a talk with her." "She's a very intelligent girl," I said weakly, because it was not Janie's intelligence that I was thinking about. I was still remembering the feel of her soft cheek against my hand. Lonnie leaned forward, resting his chin on the back of his chair. "She's pretty fond of you, isn't she, Josh?" "I don't know. Maybe. I know I like her. Is that all right?" He took that long, deep breath I had noticed once before when it had struck me that he felt some weight inside his chest. His voice was cheerful, though, when he answered, "Yes, it's all right. Of course it's all right. You're both getting to an age when it's easy to be fond of one another. Sure. It's natural and right. It's just one of those things, I guess. Makes me remember when I first allowed Davy to cross the street by himself and find his own way to kindergarten. I knew it had to be, but it wasn't easy." He paused a minute and then continued, "I have a lot of respect for you, Josh. I like you, and if I didn't, I wouldn't let Janie spend so much time over here." "Yes, I know what you mean," I answered. "You're over a year older than Janie. She's never gone out with boys yet. You probably are a little more experienced in this business of dating." I laughed shortly. "I've never had a girl in my life. I've always been afraid of them. It's nice not to be afraid of Janie." "What about the young lady down at the carnival, the one with the earrings?" "Janie told you about that?" "She mentioned it. She wanted to know if she could have a little money to buy some dime store earrings. That was because Josh had known a pretty girl at the carnival who wore them." I didn't say anything. We sat there for a while. "You don't care to talk about the girl at the carnival?" "I'd rather not," I answered. "All right, then. We won't." He smiled and got to his feet. "You better get to bed. We don't want you to go overtired. You're still a little on the wobbly side." The next few days were much the same, except that Janie wore dresses when she came over to see me, and she sat on the chair in what I suppose Lonnie had told her was a ladylike manner. We talked about lots of things, but we never mentioned earrings or love or a girl's smooth cheek pressed against a boy's hand. Every day I watched for the mailman, hoping for a letter from home, knowing guiltily that I didn't deserve one after all the weeks in which I had refused to write. But there was one thing I had to know, even if I had to write and plead for a letter. I had to know if they had heard from Joey. More and more I leaned toward Lonnie's idea that Joey might have gone home. More and more I hoped that idea was right. Maybe they'll never forgive me, I thought. All right, I can take it. I can take anything if only I know that Joey is safe with them. If only I know the idea that Joey might have gone home, more and shelter. The letter came one stormy afternoon when I was alone. It was addressed to Lonnie in Mom's handwriting. I sat there in the quiet kitchen waiting for Lonnie to get home, turning the envelope over and over in my hands, seeing in my mind the room at home and the table where Mom must have sat as she wrote. Janie was with me by the time Lonnie came home from supper, and we stood together, hardly breathing as he tore the envelope open. There was an enclosed letter which he handed to me. I clutched it as I listened to Lonnie read what Mom had written to him. They had not heard from Joey since we left Baton Rouge. She told Lonnie that she watched every mail hoping to hear from one of us, but that it seemed as if a great darkness had gobbled both of us up. She thanked him for taking care of me during my sickness, and she begged him to let her know as soon as we had any word from Joey. Lonnie reread a part of the letter to himself, then he folded it slowly and shook his head as he placed it in his coat pocket. When I unfolded the letter Mom had directed to me, Lonnie found an excuse for him and Janie to leave the kitchen and allow me to be alone. When they were gone, I just sat there in the half-darkness, holding the letter tightly, wanting to read it, and yet afraid I couldn't bear what she might have to say. Finally, I turned on the light bulb that hung from the kitchen ceiling and spread the closely written page out in front of me. She asked me first to believe that she loved me and that she would never be happy until Joey and I were home. After that, she talked about Dad. I wouldn't know him, she said. He looked like an old man, what with worry and anxiety and remorse for his boys. He had a job of sorts, not a good one and not steady, but it had saved his sanity, she thought.